Hello, YouTube, and welcome back to the Fantasy Hockey Podcast channel. So this time, I've updated the sheet. If you've seen it before, we have like a draft tool video, and I updated a lot since that last one because we uploaded that like a month ago. So I've made a lot of changes, a lot of updates since then. So I figured I'd redo that video and explain now again how to use it. So I'm going to do 3 parts so that, let's say you already have this sheet and you're just looking for a few tips. You don't have to rewatch how to also set it up. So we're going to do one that's just set up, one that's explaining how to actually use it. That'll be a little bit of and with some expert tips on how to make it work best for you. And then the very last one will be just how to speed it up, because I know some people have said it's a little bit slow at times, which it is because there's just so many calculations going on. So I'll explain in the very last one how to actually speed it up a little bit. But this first one, we're going to keep it really simple, and all I want to go over is just how to set it up. It'll be super short, super simple. I'm not even going to really go over what's in the sheet. That you can get into in the next video. First off, I just want to explain to you literally how to set up the sheet. So the first thing you need to do when you want to set it up, first, obviously go down to the link in the description. The link in the description will be the actual tool itself. And then what you want to do is there's 2 ways to make a copy of it. The first way is to go up here to File once you're on the sheet, and then there's something that says Make a Copy. You'll click on that and make a copy for yourself. The second one, if you forget to do that, is when you go to Home, where we also have all our ADPs up to date as of. There's a link here. This link will take you also to copy. So below in the description, I'll actually put the link to the copy directly, so that when you click on it, it'll prompt you to make a copy, and that should hopefully help with some confusion, because we know we get sometimes some people requesting to edit. Okay, so once you've made your copy, which I have here, for example, I named it Tool Video, you'll go to League Settings and input your league settings. So here you'll see that I already kind of have an example for you. So I put in cats. You'll select one of cats or points. And then in ADP, you'll select Yahoo, ESPN, or Fantrax. In positions, you'll also select Yahoo, ESPN, or Fantrax, and you'll enter the league settings that you have. So what cats do you count? What is a, let's say, goal worth in your points league? That sort of thing. That's what you're trying to put in and tell the sheet what it is. Same thing for goaltenders down here. Now, it comes built in with Scott Cullen and Daily Faceoff projections in case you don't want to buy any, or you just haven't yet, whatever, right? You just want to test it out. You can test it out with this. Now, an important thing to note is that in Cats leagues, if this is blank here, this check mark, that means it will break everything if you count that. So say you count power play goals as a category. Unfortunately, you cannot use Scott Cullen's rankings because if you include that, it'll break. You can exclude it and it'll work, but you can't include it. And that's that's a little bit of a bummer from a free perspective, but if you did buy projections or something like that, you'll be totally fine to use them. But that's an important thing to note with Cats leagues, is that if you count a category here, you cannot not have a stat counting for it. And I'll show you a little bit of what that means. For a points, it doesn't matter. It'll calculate the points, but it just won't have this, right? Like let's say your power play goals, you just won't be actually adding power play goals to the tallies of certain players. So that's an important thing to note, and just remember, it's okay to exclude. For example, a lot of people exclude plus minus from projections because it's such a random stat anyways, same with shutouts. And so you can exclude things, but it will alter the way that rankings work. So that's the setting. So once you have all your league settings in, the next thing you want to do is you want to go over to the Skater import sheet. Or if you're doing it free, you're good. There you go. You're done. You can move on to the next video. You now have rankings. But if you want to import, let's say, Dauber or Dom, which Dom, for example, one thing I do want to note is when you're putting in goals or assists, he uses rates. So when you go to paste Dom's I don't know how to say his last name, but when you go to use Dom's sheet, just make sure that when you copy his data, you want to right-click and then go paste special and paste values only. That's what you want to do, and then that will work. So what you want to do when you're importing your stats, it's super, super simple. You would just go, for example, here I have Cullen's up, right? I average out all providers and make one master projection list, but for this sake, let's just pretend we're reusing Cullen's. What you do is you just find players, go all the way down, and copy those, and then go over to your kit and paste them in. And you would do that for every single stat you count. So if you go in and you count goals, you'd paste goals, you'd paste assists, you'd paste points, you'd paste any of the cats or points that you count. And then it'll kind of do the whole calculations for you. Now, this is where I was saying, let's say you count points, right? And there's no points here. If there's no points here, then in that case, your whole thing is going to break for a Cats league, or for points, it won't count the points. So that's really important to note. You have to have this filled in if you count that category. So in this case, for example, we have them all filled in. So then all you need to do is just go over to player rankings. The rankings will be there. The last thing to note here is that, say, for example, this is a very good example. But say, for example, you have someone like Mitch Marner, right? If it's blank here in the import sheet, the reason it's blank is because it hasn't adjusted for Mitchell. So in this sheet here, it's called Mitchell. His name is Mitchell Marner. But if you go over to the import sheet, and let's try to find Marner here, it'll say Mitch, right? If you change that to match the rankings tab to Mitchell, you'll see that it'll show up in just 1 second. It'll be like magic. Well, kind of like magic. It's a little slower than magic, but it shows up nonetheless. So anyways, there you go. See, he showed up. So anyways, that's pretty much it for this video. If you want to see how to use it, how to master it, and have it actually help you win your pool, watch the next video. Otherwise, you've now set up the sheet and you're good to go to just use the rankings.